Hey guys, it's January 17, 2016, and I'd like to continue to talk a little bit about my DNA. Um, it kind of looks like I'm going to be going back and forth in terms of ages and experiences, whether it's myself or other people. Um, as you know, my mother's side of the family, during the genocide, my great grandfather, he escaped the Ottoman Empire prisons and was a great trickster. He carried multiple types of cultural passports, and like each passport said he's another culture. Now, when you're born in a Middle Eastern country, or if you're from regions, if you're a different culture, it's literally stamped on your passport that you're not of their blood. You're not of the blood of, like my mother, she's born in Syria, so it's stamped on her passport, her Syrian passport, that she's an Armenian born in Syria. That's how they do it. So he got out and he put on a Kurdish hat and took some weapons and took a horse, and those soldiers that were walking the Armenian children and women and the starving children to the deserts to Syria, he was pretending that he was a Kurdish, and stealing an Armenian woman. And on his way, he had to kill a few of them to help escape and get the Armenians to come follow him. Those who could walk and those who could, withstand the desert and starvation and keep walking despite everything. So, because of that, of course, my mom and her family, they were brought up and raised and born in Syria. So, um, from what I'm aware, in Syria there was an Armenian town, okay, where all the Christians would be, and they're all Armenian. They started building Armenian cultural schools and like communities, and these are the ones who survived because the Syrians opened that gate for the Armenians to start fresh, the Syrian government. Which now half of them have been destroyed in Syria. So apparently, because in countries like that, the kids would be out and about all the time, playing outside in the parks, on the streets, and stuff like that. My mother had five brothers, and she was the only girl. So my mom's second oldest brother, apparently he was like really young. I'm not even sure if my mom was alive then. I think he was like 2 years old. Apparently he went missing, and nobody really noticed he was missing because of the amount of kids that would be out playing with each other. And all of a sudden, my mom's oldest brother, Ruben, noticed he's missing, and he turned around and he saw an old Arabic man on like his bike, and my uncle is in the back, or like he had like a little pouch type of thing, like a basket, and he had put him in there, and he's driving off, so he's being kidnapped. And my uncle is playing with a toy and he's smiling and he doesn't know what's going on. He thinks it's fun, like it's a game. So basically he was being kidnapped. And my uncle Ruben started screaming to the people and everybody, his brother's being kidnapped, his brother's being kidnapped. So all of a sudden, um, all the people, like the parents, there were a few parents and some men that started running after this man. And when they got a hold of him, because they were scared that they'd never be able to find him ever again, and that boy, who knows what they would have done to my uncle, right? He would have done to my uncle, either sold him, made money off of him, made him a slave, who knows, maybe used him for sexual gratifications, because they do stuff like that in the Middle East and it's kind of normal. Okay, and almost like everyone I've ever met that's from the Middle East has told me that they've had some sort of encounter of childhood, like rape, something like that. They've told me. Almost everyone I've ever met. So they brutally beat this guy, and then when my grandfather found out, when my grandfather showed up, I don't know where he was he working, something, I don't remember the whole story, but like they brutally beat this guy where he was bleeding and he fell to the floor, like groups of them, they brutally attacked him. And like, because you have to understand, in the Middle East they don't call the cops, they brutally like beat each other. Like if you get into a car accident, they don't call the cops. Like they'll stop in the middle of the road and everybody starts attacking each other. I don't know if that's sad or if that's funny or, but yeah, they found him and he was brutally attacked, and I don't know if he died because of being brutally attacked in his old age, but that goes to show. So there's a lot of that stuff, and anyways, so where that's one story, and there's another story that my grandfather's mother, who the female that my great grandfather picked up because she was married, they killed her husband and in front of her, and then they killed her brothers. They sliced their heads off in front of her brothers' heads off. And so of course she developed a sickness and she died at 38 years old. So she was on her deathbed, and my grandfather was 14 years old, and he came running to his mom and he was holding her hand, and before she died he said, if you have, talk to me, I need to know, I don't want you to die like this, where you're in this state of depression, because she was very silent, she wouldn't talk. And she started saying, my baby sister is alive, I can feel it in my gut, like I can feel, because she had a baby sister, they killed her mom. They were jewelers, her parents were jewelers, like well-known jewelers, so well known that the Ottoman government, like the high-end people would buy off of them, type of thing. Um, and because in the Ottoman ages, the Armenians were very business oriented, okay? Although they didn't have like multiple types of rights, um, they were the most business oriented people in the area in Ottoman times, okay? And I don't say Turkey because it wasn't Turkey. It would the place with the country was not called Turkey during the Armenian genocide and before the Ottoman genocide. It was the Ottoman Empire, okay? Turkey became after 1915. Turkey became after the genocide took place, and they wiped out the Armenians, and they took the civilization homes, their bank accounts, and the sacrifices were made, and they killed them, the women, children, and the people. That was when they established Turkey. That is when they established the red and white flag with the moon and the star. So they choked her mother and threw her off a cliff, but they left her baby sister there. And I'm only saying this because the camera's gonna shut off, but I'm gonna have to continue this. So apparently my great grandfather heard her and he trusted her because her gut was like telling her that. And he was just walking by, after she passed away, he was walking by a town in Syria, and he saw a woman draped in, the Muslim black, outfit where the head's covered, everything's covered except the eyes. Well, he saw a woman in like the balcony, and she was putting up laundry to dry at the balcony, and he was walking in the neighborhood, and everybody knew he was a general in that area. Everybody knew about him, that he was a freedom fighter, and so he was walking, and he saw her, and right away he apparently said to himself, this woman's like her legs, because when she was putting the clothes up, apparently the bottom of her dress kind of went up, so he was able to see the shape of her legs, and he said to himself, this is odd. I'm getting this really odd feeling that her legs are very similar to my wife's legs. So he must have picked up on something, some intuitive feeling. It could have been his wife's spirit really calling to him. So he went and he knocked on the door, and she wouldn't open the door. and he wouldn't leave. And then finally she opened the door and she was startled because in countries like that, a woman that's home alone does not speak to a man. Okay, it goes against their religion in terms of the husband and stuff. So he started saying, he was like very straightforward. He said, you know,